Welcome to VR Man Cave. It's really nice to see you here. So you think you're brave enough to play the scariest games available on the Quest 2? Well, make sure you have spare undies because scary games in VR are much more intense than you think. Let's go!
Hey guys, Andy here. I hope you've enjoyed that quirky little intro that I did because it was super fun to make. VR makes every experience a lot more immersive than playing it on a flat screen, so as you can imagine, this lends itself incredibly well to scary games for the Quest 2. Just make sure to clear your environment before and try not to throw the headset off your head, because if you've never tried a horror experience in VR, it can be truly terrifying. And when your instincts inevitably kick in, you'll probably either try to punch whatever you see or physically run, also known as the fight or flight instinct, but obviously both of them can be dangerous, so please be mindful and stay safe. Okay, enough chit chat. Let's jump in and see what the best scary games for the Quest 2 are. Five Nights at Freddy's. This first title will have you taking on the role of a nighttime caretaker for a chain of restaurants with a stuffed character theme. As you can imagine, since this game is part of this video, those stuffed animals will come to life in a very scary way at night and do whatever they can to get you. As the name suggests, your goal will be to survive for 5 nights. You'll have to use an array of control switches, security cameras, doors and other gadgets to make sure you stay alive. The game is built around not only scary moments, but suspense, and that's always what gets you the most in horror titles. The anticipation of knowing something is about to go down but not knowing when. So never leave your guard down, because knowing a jump scare is about to happen only makes it more intense. So make sure to have your wrist straps tightly around your hands, cause throwing your controllers is a very real possibility. The Exorcist, Legion VR. If the cartoony universe of the previous title doesn't have you convinced, well, this one takes the sense of constant terror to a whole new level. You'll play as a Boston PD detective and you'll be armed with a crucifix, holy water and a few other tools, and tasked with conducting an investigation into some really strange events and a series of unusual murders. Since it's set in the Exorcist universe, this game would have been scary as hell even as a movie, but being in the middle of it makes it that much more intense. The developers are well aware one of the things that can make this type of experience that much more compelling is sound. So they've designed an exquisite implementation of 3D spatial audio that makes the voices and whispers you'll hear around you make you wonder if it's coming from the game or your actual house. As usual, I'm not going to give you any spoilers at all, but just know that creepy voices will be the least of your worries. Lies Beneath. Don't be fooled by the comic book style of this one, because this action-packed survival horror title will captivate you in its story, and the way the audio cues are designed makes it obvious why the developers recommend you play it with headphones. Your character starts off on the side of the road after getting in a car accident, and as you start exploring your surroundings with just a tiny lighter on hand, you get immersed and the tension starts building. If you prefer to have a bit more control and be able to fight back, then this is a great title for you, since you'll pretty much always have weapons on hand, which on one hand makes it a bit less scary, but on the other gives it a very nice action element, since you'll be involved in quite a bit more combat than in many other titles on this list. So if that's your cup of tea, give Lies Beneath a try. Affected the Manor. Okay, if you've clicked on this video, then you're probably a fan of spine-chilling titles, and this one not only doesn't disappoint, but will probably exceed your expectations. I just want to reiterate what I said in the intro about spare underwear, because this one is absolutely terrifying. First of all, I need to mention that while this title is not quite a game, it is one of the most intense horror experiences available in VR, even if interactivity is not its strong point. An interesting game mode is the Gauntlet, Gauntlet, and it's a speedrun mode where each player will be ranked based on their time and how much they've screamed during their run. So it makes it an interesting title for playing with family or friends and passing on the headset from one to the other. In fact, the first selling point of this game is actually scaring your friends and family, since it doesn't require any complicated mechanics, so it's great for people not used to playing VR games. Just please don't give it to your grandma if you still love her. Face your fears too. Your sister has disappeared while attending a party in an abandoned, crumbling mansion, and as the good brother that you are, you go looking for her. This game is much more jump scare focused, but the actual best part of the game are the parts in between, where the developers have done a pretty decent job in having the visuals and audio working together to create a tense atmosphere. You'll encounter all kinds of scary creatures, from tiny spiders to centipedes and other creatures I'll let you discover on your own if you choose to get this game. While this is not by any means the best horror title on the Quest, it still deserves a mention on this list, especially for fans of the first one, even though it's supposedly not quite as good. Dreadhalls. This one's a classic since it first launched back in 2015 for Gear VR. Back then, it was designed for use with a gamepad, but it's of course received full motion controller treatment in the meantime. If you're not familiar with it, the game is a first-person dungeon escape game, and it offers a high replayability factor, more than any title on this list since it uses randomly generated labyrinths, so no two runs will be the same. Even hardcore horror fans describe it as not for the faint of heart, so while it might not be the most graphically pleasing title, it still absolutely holds its own as a scary Quest 2 game. Moving through the narrow hallways and small rooms within the dungeon without anything other than a small light and your courage, your only chance to survive is being quiet and stealthy. Blair Witch. Described by the developers themselves as a story-driven psychological horror game, based of course on the well-known Blair Witch stories, this title will have you wandering through the iconic Black Hills Forest in Maryland as a former police officer. Something that this game offers and others on this list don't is the fact that for once you won't be completely alone, because you'll have your trusty sidekick Bullet, a canine companion that will act as your ears, eyes, and nose in this terrifying environment. While it doesn't have nearly as many jump scares as other horror games, there's a constant feeling that something is about to go down. So when that fear is confirmed by Bullet growling at something you can't even see, it really immerses you in the atmosphere while you explore. Your character Ellis has a troubled past and now suffers from PTSD and panic attacks. But the fact that you need to uncover the mystery of a lost little boy makes you really want to push forward even when every bone in your body is telling you to stay put. Layers of Fear. This psychedelic horror game has a really interesting premise, which is that you will be pulled into the depths of insanity. You'll be exploring the mind of a tortured artist as you explore a constantly changing Victorian mansion. So you might be looking at something to your right just to turn around to your left and see everything being completely different, which keeps you on your toes and provides for a very creative and trippy experience. Layers of Fear has had pretty mixed reviews, with some bashing it for its poor adaptation to the VR medium, since this was originally a flat PC game, and others swearing by it as one of the best horror titles available on the Quest due to its good visual effects and powerful suspense building moments, as well as solid jump scares. But I thought it still deserved to be mentioned, as you need to be the one to decide if it's worth your time or not. These titles all deserve praise in their own way and are a great glimpse into how much potential Quest 2 has for horror games, especially since, as opposed to games that need to be graphically intense, I feel like scary titles are more about the atmosphere they're able to create and how much they can immerse you in their worlds. So I look forward to see what future titles like Wraith the Oblivion have to offer, which will be releasing this spring, and you can be sure I'll cover it on the channel. So consider subscribing if you want to see that review as soon as it hits the channel. There are a ton of other great titles on the Quest 2, and I have 2 video suggestions for you to check out. So you can either choose this one or this one to watch next. Thank you so much for watching and have a fantastic day. I'll see you soon. Stay safe and enjoy VR. Cheers.